welcome to Morning Club. Didn't get much sleep, but what do you do? Alright, enjoy the drive.
Exploring new possibilities and feeling empowered every single day. So, what are you waiting for? Go to pureromance.com, use code podcast30, and make tonight unforgettable. Pure romance, confidence, connection, passion.
Let me ask you something. Do your feet hurt after a day on the slopes? Well, they shouldn't. Just stop by Evo Salt Lake City, where our experts can help with custom boot fittings and help guide you through our unbeatable selection of top-rated skis, snowboards, and accessories. You'll find the best gear selection backed by our 365-day return policy. And as a podcast listener, get 20% off store-wide when you visit us at 660 South 400 West Suite 300. Our friendly team with years of experience will help you find the perfect gear, whether you need a tune-up, premium rental, or just new boots. Plus, Evo is more than just a store. We're a community hub with events, a skate park, and even an art gallery. Come visit us or shop online at evo.com. That's evo.com. And remember, mention this podcast in store for your 20% discount. Exclusions apply.
With that being said, the guy was a wealth of knowledge, and he did fill us in on a few things. One of them being the above ground structures that everybody sees. And they would go back thinking they was going to find the grass man in these structures during the day sleeping. Well, that's not the case. There's some of them anyway are nurseries. That's where they will go in, give birth, hang out for a little bit, and have a place out of the wind, out of the rain, all the elements, what have you. And they were birthing huts. And as far as the intricate weaving, no, there's human in them, so there was no intricate weaving. It may look like that, but what they do is they would drag brush in from another part of the woods, fields, and ball it all up together, and then just roll it. And then once they got it big enough, the big one would go in and just clear it out inside and make the structures. Now, not all of them were made like that. Some of them were made by stacking tree limbs. We've seen like that as well. One in particular was pine, and it's almost comical because you see this big pine hut, and if you notice the pine trees all around it don't have any limbs for clear up almost to the top and start having limbs again. Just a few. We think to ourselves, yeah, that's not noticeable. But the whole time we're down in this area, we'd see a shadow here and there. My buddy, he started going down in there looking for the grassman after he had seen one down there that scared him so bad he sat for 5 hours in one spot and wouldn't move as he saw it through the ferns. He had seen movement, and he had moved the ferns aside and saw this big grass man. He described it was the side of it. You could see it from its head down to about its thigh. And he said it was brown in color, had what he describes as a razorback, which kind of like a ridge about its back onto the front of his head.
Maybe a great
He said it was a manhood. It wasn't calling a manhood. And he said it walked off without making a sound. And he just sat frozen.
I don't like it when they
One of those will come back around. What's going to happen? And mind you, it's in a mile out there. So after about 4 or 5 hours, he probably crawled off. So we're so started to get the hill until we could see his vehicle and took off. How's that? They said he'd been up there since he was a kid. So, in the meantime, the guy tells us that his farm investment and my name translated was enough hours work. Yeah. What I think I would like to the grassland community, but the grassland themselves is enough hours work. That's just my luck. But we went down back earlier on. somebody else's photo of the same area. They actually got, it's actually a guy who has a property down there, and the face is just very Neanderthal, I guess, no hair on the face, hair all around the face, Neanderthal looking, almost Neanderthal, and a little bit of, almost like a little bit of Down syndrome is the look they have. Yes, but that's just what so Neanderthal with Down syndrome, the ones I've seen clear pictures of. And oh yeah, look at that's awesome. We also heard from the man down there that these things, they live for the most part underground. Caves, they'll dig the ground out if they have to. They'll do it themselves. He's actually found one of their entrances, and he said, if you're looking for it, you may not find it. And he got lucky. He said, because what they'll do is they'll have boulders or big tree trunks right there close by, that when they go in that hole, they can just pull that right up over. It's an incredible something. I thought that was pretty fascinating. This would explain some of the disappearing in thin air, but it doesn't explain the footprints in the middle of the field, the snow just stopping and nothing to be seen. I'm learning more and more about that part of it, what they're capable of, but it's just been in bits and pieces. There's been many a times when we've been in the woods, and like I said, we knew we were being watched, and there was I forgot about this one in particular time. It was at the campgrounds, and we actually went up into the woods out of the campgrounds, which we can't do that anymore because there's a government facility back there that actually, they find you now if you go beyond a certain point in the woods. It's under the guise of a utility company, but it's not, because we know there's a government complex back there where they train newcomers to run the big machines and to work on them, stuff like that. It's a training ground, basically. But we were back close to that one day when we heard just the most ungodliest footfalls coming through the woods. And I mean, it sounded like a bulldozer coming through the woods, but we could tell it was running. It wasn't a machine. And that's probably the first time they really scared me. That went to where we got out of there too sweet, got on the golf cart as fast as it would go, winding down through the trees, which was pretty harrowing in itself because of the fact that the roof stuck up, and if you went around the corner too sharp, it's going to catch the tree trunk and flip it, or maybe worse, hurt us both. But that was probably the scariest of them with the grass man. Most of the time, they've never really bothered us. We just watched them from a distance. I don't know if they knew we were up on the deck watching them, but I'm sure they probably had a pretty good idea at one point or another. And like I said, I know they were watching us down that canyon. But that's about all I can think of off the top of my head that I've experienced with them. I know there's more. I've had way more experience with Bowman than I have Bigfoot, the grass man. And I do want to mention, they do seem to run together. Every once in a while, it sounds like they're working together, because they definitely round up coyotes and take coyotes, because we've sat and listened to them do that night after night over the last 4 years. It's unmistakable. You hear the grass man howl in one spot, then you'll hear it over another spot. Coyotes start going off, and then you'll hear that back and forth once or twice more. Then you'll hear a big yelp, and they got one. And then you'll hear another yelp. You may hear 3 or 4. Usually it's 1 or 2, but there have been times that we've heard get 3 or 4. But in the mix to that, we've also heard the dogman yelling, or its growl, bark, whatever you want to call it, half bark, half growl, where it was actually in the mix up there in the woods with wherever they were at with the coyotes. I'm not sure if they were in the woods or in one of the clearings. There's some clearings up there. Really hard to say, because we were listening to one, but not to go up and find out at all. And we found tracks down around his cabin from both big, colossal grassland tracks. He actually was talking to me on the phone one time up at the water tank and saw one walk behind this cabin. And we went back there and looked, and this cabin, the roof was every bit of 15 foot up there. It had to be to the top. And this thing, you can see it over the top of the ridge line. I mean, I hate to say this, but he did take a photo of it with his flip phone. And when I blew it up, it was actually a grass man carrying a hog that stole down the road. There was 8 of them missing down there, about a half mile down the road. And they were all 300, 400 pound range, and this guy had it up on his shoulder like it was nothing. So that was pretty amazing.
Oh my God.
But that's about all I got. So hopefully, learn something from it. I try to share everything I can that I know, which, like I said, with the huts, the above ground structures, and as far as getting them on trail cam, how to do that, the language. A lot of this came from the journals that we were privy to that were just outstanding, but they'll never see the light of day. I know that for a fact. This guy's pretty secretive about it, pretty protective. They'll never come out in the public, at least not anytime soon, maybe sometime in the future, who knows, if they actually get it. So it'll be awesome. But that's all I got.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and you'd like to be a guest, please go
exciting. All right then, let's do this.
happened in Lumpkin County, Georgia. My name is Brooke. I'm 28 years old, and I've lived in Lumpkin County my entire life. I grew up on a 13-acre game farm, like chicken farm. My earliest encounter, I guess, or that I heard sometimes my parents would talk about animals going missing or something, happened when I was 4 or 5. I can remember when my dad had roosters on tie cords with barrels, and when any other animal would come in and hit one of his chickens, there would be feathers and stuff everywhere. And there were multiple times right when we moved onto this property that the rooster would just go missing with tie cord and all. There was no feathers or anything like that left. There was no remnants left. There was no rooster there besides the barrel. Then there was a few times we went camp out in front of my grandmother's house because my whole family lived on this 13 acres, and they still do to this day. But it was my uncle, my nana, my other uncle, my aunt, and then us. There was 5 of us cousins, and we used to camp out in front of my nanny's house, and we just camp out and stuff, when we were old enough to know things. It was when we were really young. But I think when I was about 7 or 8, it was during the summertime we camped out there in her front yard, and it was all 5 of us girls. And we've done this a few times before, and nothing ever scared us. We'd stay out there all night, but this one particular night, we thought that our dad was sneaking up on us. We could hear someone walking around the tent, coming up, because our road was gravel. We're all a year apart, all 5 of us, and so my cousin was 10, she was the oldest, and then we were all like right there behind her. And we heard someone walking up the gravel road. And so, our giggling stopped and we got real quiet. And my cousin said, "Listen, I think my dad's trying to scare us." And so we're sitting there, we got real quiet, but it was really hard for us to stay quiet. We just thought everything was funny. We were all laughing and stuff. And she was like, "Listen, they're getting closer." So it whatever it wasn't one of our parents, but it walked right up to the tent. And it scared us so bad. We just took out, it walked up to the back of the tent. We never seen a shadow or anything, but we could just hear it. And we heard something rustle up to the back of the tent. And when we heard that, we all, beelined it out of that tent. But we were literally, a foot from the front porch. We weren't far at all from the front porch. And we took off running into the house. And we went in there and told Nana that our dad was trying to scare us. And my nanny called all of them, and they were all at their house. So then, our parents thought that one of the neighbors or someone, because there's property down below ours, thought that they were up there messing with us. So they went riding down there to ask them, and they weren't even home. They were on vacation that week. So that was one of the earliest things, besides the animals going missing. But my parents got divorced when I was 7, and so I knew I was only there every other weekend, and then my dad also married someone else right after that. So I didn't actually move back there to that place other than visiting until I was 10 years old. And when I was 10 years old, they were mobile homes. Ours was a single wide, but my bedroom was at the end of the trailer. And those windows are huge windows, on the end of it. My window was so big, in order for me to shut the window, I would have to touch the screen to pull it down. And one night, right after one of the weekends that we were there, it was in the fall time, we would always open up our windows in the fall because it felt really good outside. And I was in my bedroom playing, and I just got this really, I got this feeling like something was watching me. It scared me really bad, but it was so dark. There was no light on that side of the house. It was at the other end, at our driveway. The back of it was right next to woods. It was probably like 5 feet from my window to a wood line. And I was sitting there, and it just got like just so quiet. I think I was coloring. I'm pretty sure I was coloring, but it got so quiet. It was pitch black. But I just got this urgency, like, you need to shut your window. And so I stood up, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna have to touch this window in order to shut it. And so as I was walking towards the window, something moved outside the window, and it scared me to death. I took off running into the other end because my dad's room was all the way on the other end of the house. And I went in there screaming. I was like, there's someone outside my window. It just moved outside my window. And my dad was like, you're gonna have to come out there. So my dad immediately jumped up, ran outside the front door, went around there, and there was nothing there. And this happened so bad that my dad painted my window, because even like with my window shut, there was no blinds on it. So I would feel that all the time, because every other weekend when I come over, I would feel like someone was watching me in that window at nighttime, and I wouldn't sleep in there. I would either want to sleep in the living room, or sleep with my sister, or sleep in there with my dad, because I was scared. And he eventually painted my window. He painted my window brown, where I couldn't see anything out of it. And then a lot of stuff during that time, I don't think anything ever happened until I was 14. Anything else happened until I was 14. Because we moved right after that, we moved again to another county, into a subdivision, and then we moved back. When my dad moved back there, I was probably about 12 or 13. I mean, we were watching TV or something like that. I wasn't outside a lot then, but one weekend, when I was 14, this was in 2007, we had family friends come over, and all of my cousins were there. So at this point in time, there's like 10 of us, and plus our family friends, and they had 2 kids. And my dad, we had went back to this cabin. It wasn't on our property, but it was back behind our property. It butted up to our property. And there was this old cabin about a mile back in the woods, and we went there on the Fuller before. And so we were all like, let's go back there and look at it, and we're trying to scare, we're just pranking our friends like there's someone who used to live there or something. So we all walked back there, and me and Brandon and his little sister and my cousin Chris, he was about 5 at the time.
Sorry, lost signal for a minute there. Alright. Hold on one sec. Alright.
It was like my stepmom, our friends'
We are
parents,
back.
one of my stepmom's friends, and then all the rest of them. So altogether, there was like 15 of us that were walking out there. And Brandon and I were ahead of his sister and everybody. And like going back to this cabin, there's hills and hollers because our property is also in the middle of a power line, and those like it's huge power lines and then steep hills straight down. And so my house was on one power line, and then this cabin was 2 power lines over, so it was pretty treacherous walk. When we came around the corner, we seen the cabin.
I just went
And
back
as we were
on
walking up to the cabin,
unmute.
I saw something like it was
I was on
2
the
stories, but it was
phone.
like no one had lived there in years.
Every journey starts with a dream,
And they go to
and all
an ad.
dreams come with a price. Saving is an uphill climb, but with goals, determination, and the right financial partner,
Apenas de
there's no dream
escuchar.
you can't reach. No peak is too high. So what are you saving for? Share your dream with us for a chance to win $1,000. Start saving with Bank of Utah today.
Visit bankofutah.com to enter. No purchase necessary. Eligibility restrictions apply. See website for official rules and details. Member FDIC.
At Jody Wilkinson Acura, our product specialists are not on commission. Their focus is on understanding your needs and identifying the right vehicle for you. And with our transparent pricing, it's easy to own or lease a new Acura.
Like when you lease the new 2025 RDX for only $429 monthly. For details, dial pound 250.
Yeah, probably will.
Acura.
Downtown,
Maybe.
1111 South Main.
Every journey starts with a dream, and all dreams come with a price. Saving is an uphill climb, but with goals, determination, and the right financial partner, there's no dream you can't reach. No peak is too high. So what are you saving
First.
for? Share your dream with us for a chance to win $1,000. Start saving
Get
with
all
Bank
my
of
stuff
Utah
together.
Visit bankofutah.com to enter. No purchase necessary. Eligibility restrictions apply. See website for official rules and details. Member FDIC.
It was 2 stories, and there was windows, but the sun was shining right down on it. And right before the cabin, there was a
Get
big
my
bowl.
bag
And so
together
my
before I
cousin
do.
Chris and Hit and Brandon's sister, we had to pick them up and throw them to the other side because they were so short they couldn't make it across. So Brandon jumped across, and then I picked up my cousin and swung him across, and then I grabbed Summer and swung her across. And then I turned around and ran and took a big leap because I'm pretty short too, and I jumped across. And so Brandon was already up at the cabin, and I thought I'd seen something move, like out of the corner of my left eye, because I was looking at him, but I could see I was facing that cabin window, and I thought I'd seen something move in there. And something didn't sit right. And so there was a rebel flag hanging, like, the porch was 2 levels, and on the bottom level where you would walk into the cabin, there was a rebel flag hanging on a flagpole. Well, the wind was blowing, and Brandon stepped up onto the porch, and I was right behind him. And he was like, I'm gonna get this flag and take this home with me. And about that time, the wind blew. And when the wind blew, I seen it, plain as day. My first thought was that it was a homeless person that had long, like 3-foot black hair. And I looked, and then I seen it like twitch a little bit, and then I realized it was an arm. And so when I seen that, I got Brandon by his hair of his head. I grabbed him from the back of his head and yanked him backwards. And when I did, he said, "Oh my God, we gotta get out of here." And so we beelined it, and his sister.
I will in a second.
bottom of the bathroom creek bed, it's a power line. So from the creek bed all the way up, God, it was hectic. So I just started getting on, pumping so hard. We were up back about 5 times. Well, about the middle of it, I turned around and looked down, and I seen something move behind the tree. And I'm still thinking that it was a homeless person. And Brandon goes, I told you not to look back. Keep going, follow me. So we get up there, and we finally make it to the end of our property, or to the top of the